Ernie Elly, drums, and that's the only instrument I know. It's the only instrument I've always wanted to play. Drums.
Where were you born?
New Orleans.
What part of New Orleans?
In the 6th Ward. Yeah, back of town, we called it. Yeah.
And then where from there? I know you moved around a lot.
Yes. We came from a poor family, so sometimes when the rent was raised, we moved. Different circumstances, not all of the time because of financial things, but we moved because of different things. Lived in the 9th Ward later, but lived in the 6th Ward, attended St. Peter Claver Catholic School, Craig School, not far from here, for 1 year. Then I went back to St. Peter Claver. I was an altar boy. Matter of fact, altar boys running my family. I have, I had 2 older brothers. One passed away, God bless his soul. My father was an altar boy. My 2 older brothers were altar boys, and I was an altar boy.
What did your parents do?
I'm sorry?
What kind of work did your parents do?
Oh, my mother was a housewife. She did play a little violin in our earlier days. And my father, he was a laborer. He also danced a little also. But he did pretty good as far as doing whatever he did. He drove big rigs and things.
Did your mom ever play violin outside the house, or was she mostly playing inside?
I was very young, so I don't really know. I don't think so. It's just that sometimes when coming up in families, they have their children take up instruments, and my mother and her sisters come from, especially in the older days, people had much larger families. So I had a couple of other aunts played, well, I should have said taken up violin. So I don't know how long she played or took it up. But I know she didn't perform professionally. Different occasions, she might have played elsewhere or somewhere. You know.
What other? So your dad was would dance.
Yeah, it was just a dancer, a good dancer, not professional or anything. He just had it in him. You know.
What other musicians in your family?
I
Besides
have couple of cousins. One used to play a couple of gigs with Leonard Morris, good trumpet player. He passed away, God bless his soul. His little brother, Melvin Morris, vocalist, call him Prince Lala. Yeah, Melvin, yeah, he's still with us. I have another cousin. I don't know if he's still playing music. Rudolph Peters, guitar. So I haven't seen him in a while. So that's about the musicians that I can really recall.
What ward did you spend the most time in? You moved around a lot, but probably where did you spend the bulk of your childhood?
I'll say in the 6th Ward.
Mm-hmm.
The 6th Ward.
But time in the 9th as well?
Yeah. From the 9th Ward, from my, I was about 14 till I left to go into the Air Force. I had just made 19. And I went to high school, George Washington Carver, when I was in the 9th Ward, also at Andrew J. Bell Junior High School. I'm going back. Then, what was that? Rivers Frederick, 7th, 8th grade. Paulina C. Johns Elementary at 6th grade. So then St. Peter Claver, from the 1st grade through the 5th grade. Mm-hmm. You know.
So when you were growing up, when you were real little, what kind of music were you hearing? What kind of records?
Rhythm and blues. My mother used to really love country and western. So I came up on Hank Williams. I still, as a matter of fact, on my way here today, I was listening to some Hank Williams. I still like him. But mostly rhythm and blues, and coming up, the rhythm and blues, it wasn't called rock then because it was in its infant days. So you had Fast Domino is in his heyday, really burning it up. Little Richard, James Brown, all of Ray Charles. Ray Charles had spent a lot of time around New Orleans also. But I used to listen to all of that. And also, now, my oldest brother, Frank Elly Jr., he was 9 years older than me. On Saturdays, we'd be around the house, ironing our clothes, shining our shoes, getting straight for the weekend and stuff. I had to get my school clothes and stuff. But there used to be a program on the radio every Saturday. Let me try to get the time straight. I don't know, maybe 3 to 7, something like that, I think. Called This Is Jazz. Let me see. Not Mike. Mike is the little brother. Well, he's not quite so little. Who took over later on. Al Gourier was the host. This Is Jazz, 3 to 7. So we'd have the radio going on while we were doing what we're doing. Then my brother would take a break, get a little comb and brush, and start beating and listening to the radio. So I'd do the same thing. Say, no, listen to it. Look, no. So that's how I got my first drum lessons. Hadn't realized it, but he was really good on combs and brushes. I put him behind the drum set years later. He was lost. But that's how I got my first drum lessons with him. But
is that when
listening to the jazz,
Is that when you first realized you were musical? Did you know that beforehand?
I don't know about realizing it, but it's something I always wanted to. I loved the drum, even before that. When the era when I'm talking about, I was early teenage, maybe 14, 15. But before then, going back to the 8th Ward, I was around 12, 13 or so. I had my father gave the drum to my other brother, Charles, my older brother. I started crying. I wanted that drum. Charles could care less about that drum. He gave it to me, so I was happy as could be. But when I first saw a drum, somebody in marching band or something, I looked at it and heard it and said, yeah. I didn't care about anybody else or any other instrument in the band, the drum. So I loved it. But as far as me realizing that I had talent for drums, I don't know about that, but I knew I loved it.
Mm-hmm. When did you first realize you might have a talent with it?
I guess when I started taking up the drums in junior high school, 9th grade, Miss Yvonne Bush was my music instructor. And she got a Rubank Elementary method book, and she taught us our rudiments, how to read, and then later on, as time went by, progressed and kind of advanced kind of quickly, and then we started up a little rock and roll, well, not rhythm and blues group in high school. So,
what was the name?
Let me see. That's a good question. What was the name of it? Come back to that. I'm kind of But I could tell you a funny story about it, though. We would go anywhere in the city or out of town for $7 per man. I don't know where we got the $7 from. And plus, with that $7, there were, I think there were 7 of us. We would go, they're not in business now, American Rental, and we'd rent a PA system. For $7, everything was 7. We should have called ourselves yeah. But so I guess we would go out of town for $6 a man after expenses. But we rent that PA system, a mic and an amplifier, and we'd hop on the bus. And, if there was a picnic, whoever rented the bus, we'd get on the bus with them, with the band, and we'd hook up and we'd play.
How far were you going?
Oh, maybe right on the outskirts. Maybe Slidell, whatever, no more than about 50 miles at the most, not that far. But most of our gigs were around town.
And you were playing mostly for dances?
Yes, dances and something, a little supper or something at the door. Supper was when we were trying to raise a little money, so they charge at the door, and then have a little fish dinner or stewed chicken or something. So we'd play for that.
What venues do you remember playing at then, when you were still in high school?
Oh, it used to be called. We're going back. You asked me some questions that I hadn't thought of in a while. Let's see. I know some private parties. Club Desire, right on Desire in Florida. Yeah, they've been closed for years. Where else? I can't come up with many more names.
What were they like? The names aren't so important as
Well,
describing what they were
good
like.
soul joints. Everybody had fun. Nothing bad. It was all fun. We were youngsters too. Man, we had of course they had the drinking laws. Around that time, all of us were about 18, except for the guitar player. He was about 16. So we would draw a little mustache on him and try to keep him away from the owner of the joint. Keep him looking less conspicuous, and so keep him in the background. So let him play the game.
What was the style at that time?
Oh.
Was it matching outfits style, or what was?
Yeah, we had little coats, dark coats, suits. We would look. It wasn't this, loose freedom thing. It wasn't like that. We looked presentable, coat, tie. We always did look good, except for if we went on a picnic, then it was casual. But in those days, they had bands, had their uniforms, yellow or red coats, and different kind of things. It wasn't as free as it is now.
You are mostly left-handed, correct?
Yeah, in certain things.
Or ambidextrous?
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I'll go back from when I first started taking up drums. I learned my rudiments right hand, standard hold like this. Left hand, wait, pardon me 1 minute, let me get my sticks out.
Sure.
Now, this is the standard way. This is the way I learn. Right hand, left hand like this, right hand like this. Now, when I was playing the drums, I would set up, and I started setting up the drums myself. I got behind the drum set without any lessons or anything. But I felt so natural, like a left-hander. I would play the cymbal with my left hand, like a left-hander. I would set up like a left-hander. Set up like a left-hander now. But when I had learned my rudiments, the double stroke roll, my rudiments right-handed. So sometimes I had to change it and do my roll, and it was killing me for a long time. It was I'm going to skip some from that to when I went into the Air Force Band later on, years ago. Years later on, when I was in the Air Force Band, my first sergeant, Sergeant Gerald Borderoma, I'll talk to him about 3 or 4 years ago. Terrific drummer, terrific band too. He tried to change my hands. He tried to, not from the rudiments, he tried to change my feet to where I was saying he was trying to make me play completely right-handed. I was at a point in time I was uncomfortable either way, being set up right-handed, being set up left-handed. I got away from it anyways. You know. But yeah, I'm right now. I'm right-handed and left-footed. Yeah.
Right.
Now I'll get to how I got to that was when I was at Grambling. I was majoring in music at Grambling from when was I there? A hot moment from 66 till 68. So I would get in the practice booth and practice trying to change my hands, trying to change my feet, like getting back to how my first sergeant was trying to do. But it just left foot on the bass drum just didn't, I couldn't change it, you know, it just felt too natural. That right foot on the bass drum, it didn't feel right. So I decided, well, I'll just set up like a left-handed and just change my hands. And, but certain things now, I still, especially with Latin.
Do you want to show us?
I'll do
so I can hear better?
Okay. Oops. Go around this way. All right. Now. Okay.
So just explain what you were explaining before, but orally so I can hear.
Okay. This is the way I used to play before. Okay, that's playing left hand, switching it to right hand, playing the rudiment. Now I play right hand now. I don't have to change around. But sometimes it feels more natural for me to just use match grip and play left-handed or something on Latins, whatever, something.
So the Air Force instructor, Air Force band instructor, I mean, how successful was he in kind of changing what you were trying to do?
Not too successful at the time, but he instilled that in my head about changing my hands. I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. So when I did go to Grambling, he was still on my mind about doing that. But as I said, my left foot on the bass drum, I just couldn't change it. It felt too natural. So I'm ambidextrous. So I'm unorthodox. We have a lot of drummers come through here, different musicians. And they'll take a second look and say, wait a minute, what are you doing, you know? So I said, well, it's comfortable. We think whatever's comfortable. Yeah.
How do you think that that's orally affected your style?
Oh.
Or has it?
I don't know. I guess it has, but I think what's affected my style is just listening to the different great drummers they have around here, young and old, living and dead. You know, because and being part of New Orleans, I'm more than sure me playing like that. It has. You know, just over here instead of over here, and vice versa with the tom-tom, floor tom-tom. But the main thing is still I try to play with a New Orleans feeling, with hear the New Orleans parades and.
How would you describe the New Orleans sound? Is it the second line beat? How would you describe it?
Oh, they have different. It's not everything is in the second line beat. It's just New Orleans, I guess. I guess the way we eat, the way we talk. How should I say it? I don't know. It's like where you at. Here it is. You have the accent on 4. Different. It's hard to describe. It's easier to try to just play with the New Orleans feeling, because it's something I thought everybody all over. Pardon me a minute. Everybody all over the states and everywhere else played that way, but it wasn't until after I went into the Air Force and started. Because I hadn't gone anywhere before except for around this area, right on the outskirts. I started hearing different drummers, and then different musicians who were hearing me play, and they said, "Yeah, man, you know, I didn't know I was different, playing different from what they normally heard, even with the bass drum." My roommate, Warren Lawrence. I hope he's still living. I haven't spoken to him. He, at the service club one afternoon, I sat in with the group, and then later on he told me, "Yeah, I heard you, you know." I said, "Yeah, that's my roommate up there." You know, he said, "What were you doing on that bass drum?" And it's just a little everything stuff would have come up with around here, but that was a big thing. But something we just took for granted.
Let's come back and talk about teachers.
Okay.
So we were talking about teachers. I'd love to hear influences, names that we would know, names we don't know.
I know you would know these names. Art Blakey, Max Roach, Art Taylor, Elvin Jones later on, and of course Buddy Rich, Louis Bellson. Now those are the musicians, the drummers I would listen to on the radio. Going back to This Is Jazz, he would play them. And my brother, thank God for him too, because he would keep the radio on This Is Jazz. And he'd tell me what drummer it was, and plus the commentator on the radio would let you know who it was too. But the first drummer I really admired was Art Blakey. That drive and whatever else he had it, you know. Then later on, my brother turned me on to Max Roach, so musical, and Max Roach. I started listening to all of them, Early Miles and all of the New York, not only New York, but the modern players. Now, later on, because I was still a youngster, so I didn't hang out in the joints, but I still heard the music around me, the clubs. I couldn't go in it, I'd stand outside sometimes. Now, they had great musicians. There was oh boy, played with Ahmad Jamal, Ernie Elly on Poinciana. I had seen him you familiar with him? Yeah, boy. I had seen him at our high school at a sock hop. He played. I didn't know who he was, but I sure heard him. And yeah, boy, yeah. They had another terrific drummer there in the audience also, Mickey Conway. He went to, later on, a few years later, he went out to Los Angeles. He was on Hula Baloo. He was the drummer. He was the left-handed, completely left-handed. But yeah, Burnell Fournier, that was one of the local, even though he was, Burnell wasn't in New Orleans anymore, but he was one of the locals. James Black, and of course, God bless his soul, who just passed a few months ago, Joseph Smokey Johnson. Smokey, he's New Orleans treasure, tradition.
What did you learn from him specifically? How
The
did he
feeling, New Orleans feeling, that drive, just playing, just listening, the happiness in his playing. And another terrific drummer, David Lee. I don't know how many other musicians around here are familiar with him, but I know the musicians around New York and all, I know of him. David Lee was, matter of fact, we used to run into each other when I was with Ray Charles. And even before then, when he was stationed, and when he was in the service and I was in the service, he was stationed at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, and I was at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. So we used to run into each other a lot, And matter of fact, too, when I was living in the Ninth Ward and I lived in the Desire Projects, he used to live on Louisa Street, and he used to pass by his house and hear him practice. The other drummer I just mentioned, Mickey Conway, he stayed a few doors away. You'd hear him practicing. So the two big-time drummers, made it good worldwide. But David Lee was phenomenal. He was really, he came back there at Carver for a while, but he was terrific. But I used to listen to him a lot, So
Go ahead.
Well, I just listened to just about as many different drummers who I liked, as many as musicians as I can, as often as I could,
Many New Orleans musicians got formal training from military bands, and you did as well. Yeah. How long and what was the process? And at that point, did you realize at that point that you wanted to try to be a professional musician?
Oh yeah, that was before I went into the Air Force. From Carver, I had a scholarship for Southern music for Southern University. I went there, auditioned, and passed the audition. I got a scholarship for it. As I said before, I didn't have the clothes. You still have to have a certain amount of money and stuff. So I figured, well, I'll go in the Air Force. Where I could get paid, and I could take up music. And going back, well, I haven't spoke much about it. Anyway, I had a good background as far as music theory and good music training from my instructor, Miss Yvonne Bush. But I auditioned again at Keesler Air Force Base. Got a letter guaranteeing me of being in the Air Force Band once I go through basic training, which happened. But I had, I guess in my junior year, maybe even after my sophomore year in high school, I had realized that that's what I wanted to do. After, we read the music in class in the band room and start playing things, and look, I'm hitting and playing with them, Yeah, I like this, That's what I want. I wasn't really interested in much of anything else, which I had a pretty good head on my shoulders. Did good in school, but that's what I wanted to do.
When you came back from the Air Force, that's when you went to Grambling?
Yeah, I came home for about a year. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Matter of fact, I worked in a little furniture warehouse. I didn't even want to draw unemployment because I could have. I worked in a little furniture warehouse for a while. I drove a taxi for a while. A cousin talked me into it. Then I ran into my high school buddy. God bless his soul. It seems like everybody I'm talking about has passed away. Calvin Howard, terrific left-handed drummer, completely left-handed. Played the set too. Wow. He was at Grambling. He talked me into going to Grambling. So I went to Grambling for a while. And that's where I met my wife, too. Well, I stayed there for a couple of years.
Who were your instructors there?
Sorry. Oh, thank you. Mr. Conrad Hutchinson. He was the band director, a genius. He was, always had a cigarette hanging, and you wonder when the ashes would fall, Was a very smart man, very smart man. And Mr. William Wiley, a very nice man, very smart. There were no dummies teaching music, But yeah, he'd get the marching band together and this and that. They had me on the big bass drum, that big one that had somebody pull it. It was too much for me. It was wearing me out. But I have something I must confess to, and I guess I shouldn't do it on tape, but I will. Grambling's band was the band that played in the very first Super Bowl, and I missed it. My wife today thinks I was out with another young lady, which she wasn't my wife then, but I wasn't. I wanted to go. I guess I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to say it. I wanted to go get me a little drink, and everybody. So me, same one I just mentioned, Calvin Howard, we were the two section leaders, and Curtis White, he was the saxophone player and the piano player, the saxophone in the band. Matter of fact, he was the best man at my wedding. So we went in the car, and Calvin's car, a little, what's that, a Monza, something, or whatever, I forgot. Then it broke down, not completely. We could only go in second gear all the way back we went from Monroe to Grambling. By the time we got to Grambling, the bus had left. So we caught a ride from Grambling to the airport, and we missed the plane about 6 minutes. Oh, boy. But that was 50 years ago, and to this day I regret it. I could kick myself, Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's one of the low points in my life. It should have been a higher point, but that's sometimes we make mistakes, mm-hmm. And that was a big one.
What was the first time you ever came to Pres Hall?
First time? Ooh, that must have been around the early 70s. I used to play right there on the corner, Bourbon and St. Peter. It's called the Crazy Corner now. It used to be called the Crazy Shirley's. Before I get into that, I'd like to give credit to I'll give it now. You had a group there called the Storyville Jazz Band. Mm-hmm. Ellis Marsalis on piano, George French on the bass, Bob French on the drums, who I learned a heck of a lot from. A terrific drummer. He was on it was the downbeat. Yeah, on the front page. You know, it deserves to.
Yeah.
Terrific drummer. It had Freddie Lonzo. Freddie plays here. It had Theodore Teddy Riley, trumpet, also magnificent. And I'm forgetting the Reeds. I'm forgetting Ralph Johnson. Yeah, terrific band. So now and then Bob would take off, so I'd substitute. So later on, Bob left the band, and I started working with them. You know, so that must have been the early 70s. But even before then, when I was with Ray Charles's band, Wallace Davenport, very strong, played with count bass, all of them. He came home. We were in Ray Charles's band together. He came home. He got me to come out here. You know, he used to play at the paddock, playing traditional. That's how I was learning the traditional. I didn't know doodly squat, traditional. You know, so I started learning. Took a while. Made my mistakes, and OJT, right there too. Crazy Cheryl we used to play traditional, country and western, rhythm and blues, something a little more modern. We couldn't try to play Elvin Jones type things, but pardon me. But it was the band really had played a variety of music, great musicians, you know.
Well, as you can hear, we're just off Bourbon Street. It's quite loud. You spent many, many years gigging on Bourbon Street. What was it like then? It's changed so much.
Yeah, it used to be bands just about 2 or 3 in each block, all the way up to at least about maybe Bienville Street, you know. So they had a whole lot of different bands, good groups, all the way down. Even before I came, they had even more. You know, they had a lot of different musicians would play for the burlesque shows. You know, terrific drummers too. Nolan Coleman and Smokey Smokey Johnson used to do it too. Play. I played one night. Kind of killed me though. It was hard. Wow. You know?
What's hard about it?
Yeah, well, you play loud. You gotta really bang. That's not playing. You gotta beat the drums. You know, so it's catching the strippers. You know, as they do make their move. It's kind of rough. You know. Yeah, that wasn't my thing. Well, a lot of music up and down. Up and down, you know, all around. They had, between Bourbon Street and here, there was a little after-hours joint called Easy Eddie's. That was a fun joint. After it opened late, just about after everybody get off, all the musicians come there, have a little drink, maybe have a little jam session, and the union stopped the jam sessions, free music. But we still would go there, have a nice time, you know.
So what were the series of events that led you to Ray Charles?
My being in the Air Force Band, the saxophone player, John Cloyd Miller, in the Air Force band at Lackland Air Force Base, the 539th Air Force Band, Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. We were in the band together. Matter of fact, we used to go on some USO tours from that band to around the states, different Air Force Air Training Command bases. Anyways, one night yes, that was right after I had, a few months after I had gotten married, left Grambling, and back home with my wife. And I heard a knock on the door, and that was Cloyd Miller. Yeah, what are you doing here? Cloyd was from around Chicago. He said, well, I'm with Ray Charles. Oh, okay, yeah. So we hung out some, and then as he was leaving, I said, jokingly, yeah, if Ray Charles needs a drummer, tell him to give me a call, jokingly. I said, all right. I didn't know he had that in his mind, but to just do that, I got a call from Joe Adams, his vice president later on. Joe Adams was very sophisticated. Mr. Adams, this is Mr. Adams. Mr. Charles would like for you to maybe audition for his band. Can you meet him at the Sheraton Airport Hotel, such thing? Yeah, okay. For some reason, it looks like I'm missing everything. I missed that. I missed that. So later on, I got a call back from, what happened? I don't know. They sent me a ticket anyways, so I went out there and at the rehearsal, so I stayed with him for 3 seasons, But Ray had spent a lot of time around New Orleans. He knew New Orleans musicians. He liked New Orleans musicians. Of course, he had musicians like Wallace Davenport. He had let me see, Leo Morris. He just passed away not long ago too. Another terrific New Orleans drummer. Let me see. Well, anyways,
It'll come to you.
Yeah, well, when I'm in bed about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's always how it works.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you met Ray Charles?
Yeah, well, we were in a studio going over some charts, and the band was rehearsing first. Then he walked in. When he walked in, but then loosened up some, and then it turned out to be all right, Mm-hmm. And then, but what I had done before I joined Ray Charles, when I had found out I was going to go out there, I got all of his records and albums I could get my hands on, and I had known a lot of tunes, but I familiarized myself with just about every album he had. So I was listening to him, different things, I'd play him and listen. So I kind of knew this in my head, and plus he had some charts that you'd read. So go back to high school, Miss Bush, she gave us that foundation. So the reading wasn't a problem. And also, I had known a lot of the things, because a lot of his charts he just by head too. Some of them, most of them he had the music too, but a lot of them he just did by head, and so that helped a lot too. So I knew him.
Mm-hmm. Was there good? Did you feel good chemistry between all of you playing those 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Did it come naturally?
Well, no, I had he got on my butt a lot of times. I was a youngster then too. I had a lot to learn. I made my mistakes. He knew I was willing to learn. When he this and that, such and such, I'd work on it and come back. Yeah, okay. One time, one of the stage roaders came and said, Ernie, you ought to go tell Ray Charles you want a raise, I said, what? He's in there talking good about you, about this. He's willing to learn and all that, yeah, and he could feel me, and that made me feel good. I said, no, leave well enough alone, So yeah, we had our ups and downs, though. Oh, it's, yeah, like I said, you know. I had good concerts. I had not so good concerts. You could tell when it was really good, when he said sometimes I compare my band is just as good as anybody on this earth, you know, and it made us all feel good when he said something like that. But sometimes he wasn't too happy because sometimes just had some problems with the band sometimes, you know.
What's tell us about a memorable performance you had with him.
This was somewhere in California, around Redwood, California. No, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong coast. Let's go to New York. It was it New York or New Jersey, around the East Coast. That might have been around the Latin Casino or something like that. Anyways, you know, it was a good one. Good concert. I really felt good. I knew I was doing it, and the band was doing it. And somebody in the audience hollered, "What's the drummer's name?" Yeah, you know, I said, okay. So he didn't really give that many musicians too many acknowledgments, so I just let it stand. I started feeling this, you know.
What were his
and it just so happened one of my homeboys was in the audience that same night. I caught a ride back with him to where I was staying. I think it was somewhere in New York. I'm not quite sure.
What were his encore songs? Those 3 seasons you were with him. What were his big ones?
He'd always close out with "What I Say." So that was usually his encore song. You know, sometimes he'd do what was it? It might fluctuate then, but always "What I Say." I had to close with that.
Yeah. And what was your favorite song to play with him?
My favorite? Oh, it's kind of hard. That was. Oh, he had some real good charts. He had a lot of Quincy Jones charts. Was that Gerald? Is that Gerald Williams? Was that his last name? I used to, because it was kind of nice. I used to hit the road, Jack. It was kind of like that, you know. Hit the road, Jack. Don't come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Pop. Don't come back no more. And there was something else. Bearcat. Pop, pop. Number 222. That's what Bearcat was in the book. Number 222. I don't know if so. He had
so many definitive songs.
Yeah, some nice charts in there. Alexander's Ragtime Band. Come on, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, Alexander's Ragtime Band.
Yeah, it's a good one. I've got some photographs here. You want to go through them?
Yeah, okay.
So I'll hand you some and we can talk about them.
All right.
I'm going to start with this one.
All right. Yeah, this is my beginnings of my Air Force days. I was 19 years old. As soon as I got to Shepherd Air Force Base, I went to the studio and had this made. 19. That's about a little more than 10 years ago.
Just a decade ago. Yeah. Not that long. Let's see what we got here. What's this letter say?
Oh, this about the rehearsal. I have another one somewhere back there. I think it's a little, well, this is clear enough.
Okay.
Okay. That's when I was on Durgin Wall Street. That's when, yeah, we, that's in the 6th Ward. I had been married not long after leaving Grambling. 322 North Durgin Wall Street. Dear Mr. Elly, it's that time again. Rehearsals are scheduled to begin on Monday, April 12, 1971, at 1 o'clock at RPM International Studios, 2107 West Washington Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. Enclosed is your ticket to Los Angeles. This is an open ticket and is interchangeable on all scheduled airlines. Please call the airlines of your preference and make your reservations, allowing sufficient time to be here for above noted rehearsal. Have a good flight. Kindest regards, Joe Adams, Executive Vice President. Joe Adams, yeah.
So how long between when you got that letter and when you were there? How long?
Oh, I don't know. I guess that must have been, a couple of weeks or so before, maybe a little longer before I went out there.
Was it hard to be away from home for so long?
I had, yeah, for a while, yeah, because I had just gotten married, you know. Mm-hmm. And but my wife was keeping busy. She was in school. But now and then we get some good trips, like at, where's that? The Latin Casino in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It was right on the highway. Nothing to do with play the concert at the Latin Casino. Next to it was the nice restaurant. That's when I first had my Philly steak sandwich. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's all I would get each night. I think the whole van, you know. And across the highway was the racetrack, Garden State Racetrack. So of course, you know, when I sent for my wife, we went to the racetrack, and also my salary went too.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened.
Neither one of us knew what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We picking horses, you know, just now. Okay.
Money's
but
gone.
we had fun, and I would enjoy her coming with me. So sometimes we'd have a trip maybe to Las Vegas, so Lake Tahoe. That was pretty cheap. And had to come there a couple of times. Sometimes down to. Did she come to Miami? I'm not sure if she went. I know she come to Los Angeles too. Yeah. So.
What about this one?
New York. Okay, this is that same letter.
Same letter.
Yeah. Okay. This is Okay. Yeah. These pictures right here when I was endorsing Hobbs drums. You have Bob Grosso invented these drums. They're made out of fiberglass. He was in the audience one time in New Jersey, and the drums I had were sorry, yeah. And he said, "You want some drums?" I said, "Yeah, okay. Look, when are you going back to Los Angeles? Okay, go to such and such music store, and which I did, and pick them up, you know, which I did, and that's how I got to endorse these drums, Hobbs drums, you know. And he was also a terrific drummer too. Wow. Yeah. Later on, this is a smaller 22-inch bass drum. Later on, when I went to New York, I went to Penn Station. Took this with me and swapped this for a bigger bass drum, a 26-inch bass drum, Farmingdale, New York. Mm-hmm. I got that. And this is in
Oops.
Okay.
Let's
Everything's okay. In Mexico City, at the park in Mexico City with Rick. Mm-hmm. Rick, you This is, yeah, and these are one of the concerts. Let's see. This is J. Claude Miller. He's the gentleman who we were in the Air Force band with. He turned me on to Ray Charles.
Right.
I'm sorry to say that. I think there might be 3 or 4 of us left from that band who still living.
What about this one?
Yeah, that's a close-up. I don't know exactly
This is
whether.
you.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. I was, I guess, about 26. And of course, the genius, terrific saxophone player, and he's one of the few that's still living. Andy Ennis. You might be familiar with his sister, Ethel Ennis, from out of Baltimore.
For the name.
Yeah, well, she's from out of Baltimore. She had a good name for a fine vocalist. Yeah, that's her brother. He played with Bill Doggett for a while, too. Yeah, he's around the Baltimore area. Andy Ennis. But that's...
It's an amazing picture. What about this one?
And this was...
Actually, this
backstage.
Is a bigger version of that.
Yeah, this was, I guess, backstage. I can't remember where it was.
Just a backstage moment.
Yeah, in between whatever.
And this is another version of the letter. This was performing in Mexico.
City. Yes, Mexico City in the park.
Yeah.
I think this was around Christmas time. One of the few times we was. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. One of the few times we were still hanging around. Sometimes now we'd still be around. Around that time, but we'd be recording. We might have recorded after this trip or something. I'm not sure.
And one more. I'll change it.
Yeah, this is the big band. Yeah, I used to love playing with that band. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you what. That's the first trumpet player, Bill King. He passed away kind of early. That's my buddy. He used to, as I said, I was a youngster learning big band. He took me under his wings. After a concert or sometimes after rehearsal, he loved to drink wine. He'd drink some, what's that, Chianti?
Chianti?
Chianti? Wine Chianti. Sipping a little wine, and we go over the charts, and he say, "You see here? Look, you see what I'm playing right here? Now, what you're playing, you're conflicting with what I'm doing. Certain pointers and stuff." I said, "Okay, all right." So, and he stuck with me with that. So it got better and better. I really thanked him for that. He didn't have to do that. He helped me a lot. Well, as what I know, I think maybe that's 1, 2, 3, counting myself, maybe about 4 of us might still be living from this group.
Yeah. It's
great musicians, though, great band.
Yeah. Seeing losing so many people. Like
It's nice to live, but it's a pity, that everybody can't just continue living with you, That's part of life.
So going back to Preservation Hall, do you remember the first time you came here? It was early 70s?
I don't remember the very first time, but
or a memorable
it was
time.
around.
Or a memorable time.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it was around 73, 74. As I said, I was playing on the corner. I used to, when we take a break, come around here. They used to keep this door open, so you'd be able to, from outside, peep through the door.
What musicians did you see?
Cy Frazier, just about all of the old timers, you know. Roy Barbara used to play here. I don't think I ever got a chance to see Paul Barbara, you know. I used to see him in parades a couple of times, but not here, you know. But yeah, when I could, I'd come here and catch the musicians. You know.
Learning the traditional jazz repertoire. I mean, now you had to learn it. So now, what are some of your favorite pieces to play now from that repertoire?
Oh yeah, okay. Royal Garden Blues. Let me see. Let's see. I guess South Rampart. I'm calling some ones that we play fairly regularly, but there are some tunes that we don't get a chance to play too often. And to be honest, I can't recall some of the. Sometimes some of the musicians call something and say, "Oh yeah, I haven't played that in a while," but. I like Rosetta. It's a nice little thing, you know. And it might not be considered traditional, but I think it is, you know. It's good. It's Fats Waller and you know, that thing. I don't know.
You've seen this place change for many years. What about changing audiences? Or is it different? Is it different playing to people now as it was to playing people then?
No, it's always the same. It's people come to listen and to enjoy themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, years ago, in Bourbon Street, you used to see older people in ties, suit and ties, and all. Now it's more casual. But people come to listen, young or old. You know, it's I think it's about the same. Mm-hmm. It's nice.
Some of your favorite recordings you've done?
Good question. I like Doc Cheatham. Loved working with him too. That CD won a Grammy with Doc Cheatham.
Was it Stardust? Yeah.
Yeah, Nicholas. That one. I did a few. To be honest, my memory isn't what it used to be. Yeah, some I've forgotten I've been on. You know.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a story about Doc Cheatham.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Doc was up there, I guess, about 88, 89. When I first met him, started working with him, started playing some concerts at the Palm Court. And then we'd go on the road a couple of times. We played some little house things. Doc let you play. He wasn't. If you made a mistake, he wouldn't turn around on you. He was a gentleman, very top-notch musician, top-notch person. And he could play. He'd like for the drums to be on. Of course, you know, he's soloing. You don't blast them out. I used to like to play on them. If it's soft, I use brushes softly. He used to like that. He used to tell me, say, "I like that, Ernie. You don't kill me," you know. And one time we were having fun in the house, little house party, and he played Salt Peanuts, you know. And he turned around and started smiling and said, I can't trick you, huh? You know, things like that. We had that going. Now, one time we were in Scandinavia. Doc was, we left from New Orleans to go there. Pardon me. Doc was leaving from New York. Something happened with his plane, so he was really late. So we had time enough we were supposed to take a bus from the hotel to the gig. and Doc's plane finally came in. He only just had about an hour or so to just go on and clean up some and get dressed and hop on the bus. I said, man, to myself, that old man's going to be worn out. So we rode on the bus about an hour, so maybe it might have been a longer. I think it was about a 3 hours trip or longer. Doc got on the gig and he played and played. I said, yeah, Doc, you know, he played his butt off, you know. So, you know, well, I said, yeah, it was strong. So I think he passed. Was he 90 or 91, something like that? But I really liked him too. He was a real good gentleman, you know, real fine musician, you know. It was great working with him. I sure wish he was still around now. You know. But I feel privileged and proud to be associated with him, especially on that CD.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got those recordings, and that's going to last forever.
Yeah, and it was a relaxing thing. You know, he didn't tell you how to play. You know, just he let you play. You know, you know, that's beautiful.
Do you see drumming styles changing over time in New Orleans?
I don't think so. No, the brass bands have changed. It's evolved, but it's still New Orleans. It's not the older type brass band, but it's New Orleans. So it's I don't see anything wrong with it. Sure, it's changed. Everything must change. Louis Armstrong changed. Yeah, yeah, it changed. It was 2016. Yeah? It's still good though. Yeah?
And it's still
the older stuff. The older style brass band is still good. The younger is still good. Why not?
Why not? Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
Well, the hall. I appreciate with Ben Jaffe and his family and his, all of those who's associated with him for what they're doing for the musicians and the music and the youngsters, helping not only expose them to this music, but help keeping musicians like myself playing and going and doing with all the beautiful things they're doing. Yeah, it's great. You know, and appreciate it. Yeah. That it? Thank you.